In the remote, obscure town of Nkoza, life moved at a slow and predictable pace. The town was a patchwork of mud brick houses and narrow, winding paths that cut through fields of tall grass. It was a place where everyone knew each other, where secrets were whispered behind closed doors but rarely stayed hidden for long. Nkoza was a town full of stories, but none as strange or as haunting as that of Lila Mwandu, the young woman who married her father. Lila Mwandu was known throughout Nkoza for her striking beauty, a rare and captivating combination of grace and strength that left a lasting impression on anyone who crossed her path. Her skin was a deep, rich mahogany, glowing with an inner radiance that seemed to reflect the warmth of the African sun. Her eyes were large and almond-shaped, dark as the night and filled with a quiet intensity that drew people in. Lila's beauty was more than skin deep, it was a reflection of her gentle, kind, and compassionate nature. Lila cared deeply for her mother, and she was always quick to help those in need, whether it was a neighbor in distress or a child who had lost their way. But beneath her serene exterior, Lila longed for something more. She dreamed of a life filled with adventure and love, far away from the dusty streets and the whispered gossip that permeated every corner of Nkoza. Then, one day, a stranger arrived in town. He was a tall, handsome man named Jumo, who claimed to be a traveler passing through. Jumo was unlike anyone Lila had ever met, sophisticated, well-spoken, with an air of mystery that captivated everyone in Nkoza. He had a rugged, handsome face with a strong jawline and piercing eyes that seemed to see right through you, and that gave him an otherworldly appearance. To the people of Nkoza, Jumo was an enigma. To the women, he was a dashing stranger with a heart of gold. To the men, he was a mysterious outsider whose intentions were not to be trusted. But to Lila, he was something else entirely. From the moment she met him, she felt a connection, a strange, inexplicable pull toward him that she couldn't ignore. She found herself drawn to his stories, to the way he spoke with such passion and conviction about the world beyond Nkoza. And Jumo, for his part, was equally captivated by Lila. He would bring her small gifts whenever he travels, either some exotic flowers from his travels, or a piece of jewelry crafted by a master artisan from a distant land. Lila was flattered by Jumo's attention. He was different from the boys in Nkoza, more mature, more worldly. She found herself fascinated by him, by the way he seemed to know so much about the world beyond her small town. And before long, they began to spend more time together, taking long walks along the riverbank, talking about life and dreams and the world beyond Nkoza. Jumo was careful never to reveal too much about himself. He would often deflect Lila's questions with a charming smile or a witty remark. But there was something about him that Lila found irresistible. She felt a connection with him, a sense of familiarity that she couldn't quite explain. It was as if they had known each other in another life. Within a few months, Jumo proposed to Lila, and she, swept up in the romance and the thrill of something new, said yes. Her mother, Amina, seemed strangely silent when Lila told her the news. She offered a thin smile and a quiet congratulations, but Lila could see the worry in her eyes. "I'm just surprised," Amina said softly. "You're so young. Are you sure this is what you want?" "Yes, Mama," Lila replied, her voice filled with conviction. "I love him. I want to be with him." And so, despite her mother's reservations, Lila married Jumo in a small, simple ceremony at the town's church. The villagers were shocked by the whirlwind romance, but they came to the wedding, eager to witness the union of the town's most beautiful girl and the mysterious stranger. For a time, Lila was happy. She felt like she was living a dream, far removed from the mundane reality of Nkoza. Jumo was kind and attentive, always doting on her, always making her feel special. But there were moments when she would catch him staring at her with a strange, almost haunted look in his eyes, a look that made her heart quicken with a mixture of fear and excitement. As the months passed, however, things began to change. Jumo became more distant, more secretive. He would leave for days at a time without explanation, returning with vague stories of business in nearby towns. Lila's happiness began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease. And then there was the matter of her mother, Amina, who seemed to grow more withdrawn with each passing day. She would often stare at Juma with a look of fear and sadness, her eyes filled with unspoken questions. Lila could sense that something was wrong, but every time she tried to talk to her mother about it, Amina would brush her off with a forced smile. One evening, as Lila was helping her mother close up the shop, she decided to confront her. "Mama," she said quietly, "what's going on? Why do you look at Juma like that?" Amina hesitated, her hands trembling as she folded a piece of fabric. "It's nothing, Lila," she said finally. "I'm just worried about you, that's all. I don't want you to get hurt." Lila frowned, not satisfied with her mother's vague answer. "There's more to it than that," she insisted. "Please, Mama, tell me what's going on." Amina looked at her daughter, her eyes filled with tears. "I can't, Lila," she whispered. "I can't tell you. It's too painful." Lila felt a surge of frustration. "Mama, please. I need to know. I'm your daughter. You can't keep this from me." Amina sighed, her shoulders sagging as if a great weight had settled upon them. "All right," she said finally. "I'll tell you. But you must promise me that you will keep an open mind, that you will not judge me too harshly." Lila nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. "I promise, Mama." Amina took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice trembling with emotion. As she finally revealed the truth. "Your father, he didn't die when you were a baby, Lila. He left us. He left me." Lila felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under her. "What? But why did you tell me he was dead?" "Because it was easier that way," Amina replied, her voice breaking. "I didn't want you to grow up hating him. I didn't want you to feel abandoned." Lila stared at her mother, her mind racing. "And Juma? What does he have to do with this?" Amina's eyes filled with tears. "Juma. Juma is your father, Lila. He's the man who left us all those years ago." Lila felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Her mind reeled with shock and disbelief. No, that's not possible. You must be mistaken." "I wish I were," Amina said, her voice filled with sorrow. "But I'm not. He came back to Nkoza for you, Lila. He came back to claim what he believes is his." Lila stumbled back, her hand covering her mouth as she tried to process the horror of what her mother had just revealed. She had married her father. She had unknowingly committed the greatest taboo. Lila's world began to crumble around her. The man she had loved, the man she had married, was her father. She felt sick to her stomach, her mind spinning with confusion and revulsion. How could this have happened? How could her mother have let this happen? "Why didn't you stop us?" Lila demanded, her voice shaking with anger. "Why didn't you tell me the truth sooner?" "I tried," Amina sobbed. "I tried to tell you, but I was afraid. I didn't know how. And when he came back, I was too scared to confront him. He's not the same man he was when he left. There's a darkness in him now, a darkness I don't understand." Lila felt tears streaming down her face. She felt betrayed, not just by Juma, but by her mother as well. She didn't know what to do, where to turn. All she knew was that she had to get away, had to escape this nightmare. That night, she packed a small bag and left the house, her heart pounding with fear and determination. She couldn't stay in Nkoza, not with Juma. She had to leave, had to find a place where she could start over, where she could forget the horror of what had happened. But as she made her way through the darkened streets, she heard a voice behind her, a voice she recognized all too well. Lila, Juma called softly, his tone filled with a strange mix of sadness and desperation. Please, don't leave. I can explain. Lila turned to face him, her heart filled with a mix of fear and anger. Explain what? She demanded. Explain how you lied to me. How you tricked me into marrying you. Juma's face twisted with anguish. I didn't mean to lie to you, Lila. I didn't know. I didn't realize who you were until it was too late. Lila shook her head, disbelief etched across her face. How could you not know? You're my father. Juma's shoulders slumped, his expression one of defeat. I didn't recognize you, he said quietly. When I left, you were just a baby. I never saw you grow up. When I came back, I was just drawn to you, like some force was pulling me toward you. I thought it was fate, but now I see, it was a curse. Lila stared at him, her mind racing. A curse. Juma nodded. Yes. Our family is cursed, Lila. Cursed by a mistake made generations ago. I've been running from it my whole life, but it seems I've only made it worse. I thought I could outrun it, that I could find happiness, but I was wrong. Lila's anger softened into confusion. What are you talking about? What curse? Juma took a deep breath, his eyes filled with pain. It started with my grandfather. He was a powerful shaman, but he made a terrible mistake. He angered the spirits by breaking a sacred oath, and as punishment, they cursed our bloodline. They said that we would be doomed to repeat the sins of our fathers, that we would be drawn to our own kin without knowing it. Lila felt a chill run down her spine. She didn't know whether to believe him or not, but she could see the fear in his eyes, the guilt that weighed heavily on his soul. I'm so sorry, Lila, Juma whispered. I never meant to hurt you. I only wanted to find peace, to make things right. But now I see. I was wrong. I've only brought more pain. Lila's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. She didn't know what to think, what to believe. All she knew was that she couldn't stay in Nkoza. She had to leave, had to find a way to escape the darkness that had ensnared her family for generations. I'm leaving, she said finally, her voice filled with resolve. I'm leaving, and I'm never coming back. Juma nodded, his eyes filled with tears. I understand. Just promise me one thing, Lila. Promise me that you find a way to break the curse, that you won't let it destroy you like it's destroyed me. Lila didn't respond. She turned and walked away, her heart heavy with the weight of her family's dark secret. Lila left Nkoza that night, determined to start a new life far away from the shadows of her past. She traveled across the savannah, through dense forests and vast plains, seeking answers and solace. She knew she needed to understand more about the curse, to find a way to break free from its grip. She eventually found herself in a distant town, where she met an old woman named Chayosoka, a wise and respected healer known for her knowledge of ancient curses and dark magic. Lila told her story, her voice trembling with fear and desperation, hoping that Chayosoka might have the answers she sought. Chayosoka listened intently, her eyes filled with understanding. Your story is not an uncommon one, she said softly. There are many families cursed by the mistakes of their ancestors. But there is always a way to break the curse. It requires great strength and courage, and a willingness to face the darkness within. Lila nodded, her heart filled with determination. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I don't want to live in fear anymore. I don't want to be a prisoner of my own blood. Chayosoka smiled gently. Very well, child. There is a ritual, a cleansing that must be performed. It will not be easy, and it may take all of your strength, but if you succeed, you will break the curse and free yourself and your descendants from its hold. Lila agreed, and together with Chayosoka, she prepared for the ritual. They gathered herbs, mixed potions, and performed sacred dances under the light of the full moon. Lila could feel the weight of her family's curse pressing down on her, but she refused to give in. As the ritual reached its climax, Lila felt a surge of power coursing through her veins. She could hear the voices of her ancestors, their cries of pain and regret echoing in her ears. But she pushed through, calling upon the spirits of light and love to cleanse her soul and break the chains of the curse. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the ritual was over. Lila collapsed to the ground, her body trembling with exhaustion. But she could feel a change within her, a lightness, a sense of freedom she had never known before. Chiasoka knelt beside her, her eyes filled with pride. "You did it, child," she said softly. "You have broken the curse. You are free." Lila smiled, tears of relief streaming down her face. She knew that her journey was far from over, that there would still be challenges ahead. But for the first time in her life, she felt truly free, free to live, to love, and to create a new future for herself and her descendants. And though she never returned to Nkoza, she kept in touch with her mother, who had remained in the town, choosing to live out her days in the place where she had raised her daughter. Amina found peace in knowing that her daughter had escaped the curse that had haunted their family for generations. As for Juma, he disappeared into the shadows, never to be seen again. Some say he wandered the savannah, searching for redemption, while others believe he succumbed to the darkness that had plagued him his entire life. But Lila knew that she had done what she could, that she had broken the cycle and set her family free. And as she watched her children play under the warm African sun, she knew that a new dawn had finally come, a dawn filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future. This story is telling us that some legacies are forged in shadows, but others are born in the light. It is up to us to choose which path we will follow. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.